You hear that? Got a bird. Driving me crazy. Go yell at it. Stupid bud. Oh, stupid bud. Alright, leave a comment below. I literally just set my screw gun down and it's disappeared into the abyss of where things go. Is it just me? Do I have early onset dementia, or does that happen to everybody else? What's going on, YouTube? Levi at Old Iron Off-Road out here today harvesting some sheet metal off of Mr. Big Bird to make way for a set of fender flares and a new set of 38-inch Milestar Patagnia tires. We've been asked a lot what kind of fender flares we run on Yogi, what we use on the 8800, especially the little Red Scout that we built a couple years ago. So here today we're going to fit up a set of those, as well as cover some other things that we have done off camera in order to get this vehicle ready. Also, we're going to throw on a set of our hood support struts for this guy that we've already made up, so stay tuned. Without being too cryptic, we use a fender flare from a company called Wild Horses. They're actually an early Bronco fender flare. They're called the Gorilla War Flares. Now, there are a couple of different ways to do this. On a Scout 2, we actually use two sets of fronts. We use, obviously, a front in the front, and then for the rear, we take the other set of fronts and flip them around backwards, or actually put them on the opposite side of the vehicle. Works out really nice, gives a nice clean line, and hopefully that makes sense. Now, on the 8800s, we actually use a full set, standard front and rear for the early Bronco. Now, one thing that does get a little strange is the body line on the back of an early Bronco actually has this little bump out built into it, which obviously the 8800s do not. With a little bit of trickery and a little bit of proper screw placement, you can get that out of it no problem. So alongside of the fender flare install, one of our favorite parts of the build is to actually mount up the wheels and tires, get this thing setting on the ground, and get a good look at the stance, and we're gonna do that today. You guys get a very first look at the new stance with the new tires and wheels. So this is what we've got for wheels and tires. We're actually running a set of 17x9 Pro Comp steel wheels and a set of 38 1350 Milestar Patagonias. I really like these tires. They're pretty budget friendly when it comes to a larger off-road tire. Tread wear is reasonable. We've probably got 10,000 miles on Yogi and we're at 50%, I would say. So I expect to get 20,000 miles out of a set of mud terrains. On a big heavy truck, really can't complain about that. We're actually gonna take one of these for mock-up purposes. We're gonna place it on the hub. We're gonna outline our fender flares to get a good line of sight on where the fender flare needs to be according to how the tire sits in the wheel well. Once we're happy with where they're situated, we will screw the fender flares onto the body. We'll show you all that. We'll get a good trace line, take the fender flare back off, and make our cuts. At the end result, you're gonna see how this thing sets with the new meats and the fender flares on. Let's get it. So now that we've got this side mocked up, we're happy with the position, we're going to take a few reference measurements and transfer over to the side. That way the flare stays symmetrical side to side. Once we're happy with the placement, we'll actually trace a line, pull them back off, and then we'll get to the cutting. So we got her all peeled back. We've got a nice clean lip on the inside. One thing I do try to do, you might have saw me get off on my line up here. We were really close to being even with the lower edge. I try to trim this lip back up inside of there to kind of hide it. That way there's no metal showing really at all. We might even go back in there and trim that up just a little higher. One thing is really important, like anywhere you get like sharp edges, try to take time with a flapper wheel, polish those out, round them off, and everything will look reasonably nice. So in the South, they say that's sexier than socks on a rooster. That's prettier than a pie supper. That's hotter than a $2 pistol. That makes me happier than a pig in mud. So 3 more of these to bang out, clean up. We'll get them all bolted on permanently, and then we will get a good solid look at this thing with its new stance, its new tires, and its new Highline fenders. Alright, so we've got all 4 fenders cut and everything shaped in really nice. And you can kind of tell how clean of an edge that is. If they're not perfect, that's fine because these do cover a lot, but we've done several of them, so we do try to make our fit up in our initial cut as close to perfect as possible. I was going to go ahead and put these on with the welting, but then I remembered this truck is actually going to clear coat afterwards. So what we're actually going to do instead is we're going to go ahead and hard mount them, get all of the holes that we need to get punched in and all the screws set. That way all the screws are already drilled and all that is happy before it goes to clear. And then we will give you a look at the truck with its new fender flares, its cut fenders, and its tires in place. You hear that? Got a bird. Driving me crazy. Go yell at it. Stupid bud. Oh, stupid bud. Alright, leave a comment below. I literally just set my screw gun down and it's disappeared into the abyss of where things go. Is it just me? Do I have early onset dementia or does that happen to everybody else? Leave a comment, let me know. Oh, I see it. It always amazes me after doing this how well this really cleans up the look of a truck overall. There are lots of ways you can actually extend a fender opening, and we've done a couple of them before. We've actually cut and pieced the fender back together to retain the little lip inside, and that looks great. But one thing I do like about this is it gives you a little more tire clearance, and possibly help keep law enforcement off your back as far as that goes, if that's an issue where you're at. That is also one of the reasons why we narrowed this axle as we did, was to minimize stick out, because laws in different states are different. And obviously we build vehicles that go to different states, so we try to be as compliant as we possibly can. So before we fit the tires up, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the Curry anti-rock stuff in the rear, and I guess we'll get the tires rolled on in place and get a good look at this guy. One more thing you may notice is, along with the Curry anti-rock stuff, we actually had to change the style of spring perch that we were using. There was just too much going on. We've got the shock mount back here. I couldn't get it to clear the caliper and the U-bolts all at the same time, so we actually ran a set of the Rough Stuff U-bolt eliminator spring perches. Heavy 5/8 inch grade 8 bolts, retaining everything. I really dig this setup, actually. It's pretty nice. All right, so I've stalled enough. I'm sure you guys are ready to see some tires on this guy. So let's make it happen. So there's always a point in a build when I start falling in love with the truck, and I think we just got there. Wheels and tires fit great. Fender trim came out nice, super happy with that. One last thing I'm gonna try to accomplish today is get the hood struts set up for the hood. When you lift a Scout 80 or 800, the hoods get really, really awkward and hard to reach, so we try to do a set of hood struts. That way it makes opening and closing the hood a little bit easier. Hey! Very nice, very nice. Do something about that. Well, I believe we've done all the damage we can do on this video. Hope you guys enjoyed following along, and I hope you appreciated being able to see the first fit up of the wheels and tires, and the fender flares and all that good stuff. Like I said, this is a really important part, at least for me, when a build really starts to come together. Next video, this guy will run. So make sure you're paying attention to that. And as always, enjoy.